Hey, I'm happy because it's no secret Margie Taylor Greene is one of my favorite people in politics. I just think she's a very principled person. I think she's no nonsense. I don't think she's some insane intellectual. I think she's very MAGA, very populist, and a very good example of someone who's doing her job. Well, she's the head of the DOGE committee. That is, she is the congressional side of pulling off what Elon Musk and Trump want in those committees. So here she is.
President Trump was elected with a mandate to rein in unaccountable bureaucracy in Washington and to wage war on waste. I know that because I campaigned alongside him, and so did my colleagues. This hearing was the first battle of that war. And in the coming days, the subcommittee will release a report with legislative solutions to the problems we have identified here today.
The legislation solutions make them permanent, so we're all for that. It's super important that it happen because Elon Musk can't go in and fire people and change budgets. Some of this stuff has to be done legislation-wise so that it doesn't happen again.
We aren't going to wait all the way until the end of this Congress. We're going to get to work immediately.
Amen.
The bureaucrats who have run Washington for decades are beyond the point of forgiveness. Their sheer incompetence and pure spite for the hardworking American people have resulted in total failure. The federal government has made over $2.7 trillion in improper payments since 2003.
Yeah, they're all done. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene sounded entirely reasonable, and now we're going to go to the Democrats. Miss Crockett.
Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy that went in, and you talk about people invading our data. Listen, people said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter, who for sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying, and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
Time for
I love Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, all done. All done, Miss Crockett.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
And rein in this rogue actor known
The gentlelady's time has expired. I now recognize.
Now,
Thank you for weighing in, Jasmine Crockett. That was very informative. Very good. Good little tantrum. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene again.
Our crippling national debt and massively growing interest on our debt will destroy us. Not destroy one political party or the other. It will destroy all of us together. It drives inflation, making life unaffordable for Americans struggling to financially survive. It is crippling small businesses struggling to be successful. Our massively growing debt and interest are the chains and shackles harnessed to every American and their children and every generation to come. But first, let us be brutally honest about how this massive debt came to be in the first place. It came from Congress and from elected presidential administrations. And I believe enslaving our nation in debt is one of the biggest betrayals against the American people by its own elected government. The American people's anger over this betrayal is what gave birth to the concept of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. In fact, DOGE became a major part of President Trump's campaign and led to his overwhelming victory in November. Every day, Americans go to work. They run businesses. They have to earn their paycheck. No one guarantees it. And if they don't do a good job, they get fired. They also have to pay their bills, credit card debts, balance their checkbooks, and scrap and save every penny they can in order to plan for that rainy day and hopefully retirement one day.
Oh, and we have to pay our taxes. We have to take a giant percentage of our income and send it to the government to waste.
Private businesses only survive on hard-earned income by serving their customers so well that their customers pay them for the services and products they consume. If that business fails, its employees lose their jobs and paychecks, and the owners lose their business. and everything they risked along with it.
She's making that contrast with the U.S. government, which does not operate like a business. And if it did, it would lose all of its business. So like no one else gets to operate the way the U.S. government has gotten to operate. Now, that was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now we're going to get another Democrat in. This is Melanie Stansbury, who we're going to get her point of view here.
So why are they so eager to hack this system? And I have to say that over the last several weeks, we have literally received thousands of calls in every single congressional office. In fact, we know that our friends across the aisle are also receiving these calls because this system pays the bills of the U.S. government. It pays our soldiers. It pays for the work that we do overseas.
It pays for condoms going to Gaza. It pays for trans musicals. It paid for sending some terrorists to our schools. It's paid for both sides of wars. It pays for the BBC. It pays for Politico. She won't mention that. It's like, oh, it just pays for the children.
It pays your Social Security benefits. It pays your tax refunds. So why is Elon Musk and his hackers trying to access that system?
They're not hacking the system, they're accessing the system.
And why did a senior civil servant who had overseen this system for over 30 years get asked to stand down after a 25-year-old intern working for Elon Musk tried to get access to the code for that system?
Yeah, he needs to stand down because he's part of the cover-up. The reason, this goes back to Jasmine Crockett's question. She's going, why are we hiring Elon Musk and a bunch of kids instead of an auditor? Because the government auditors were part of the problem, the cover-up, for the last 20 years. This is Republican Rep. Eric Burleson. Here we go.
We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save your pensions. We're trying to save your bank accounts. We're trying to save this country for the next generation. And it would be nice if we had help. But instead, we have people that are fighting us on this. And, you know, I think that I would hate to be in the Democratic Party right now because you're in a really bad bind. You're having to defend all of this crazy spending, all of this crazy waste. So how do you do it? You do ad hominem attacks.
And yeah, you attack Elon Musk for bringing in hackers. They make Elon Musk, they attack the auditor, not the corruption.
You attack the messenger. Oh, Elon Musk, right? He's rich. He must be evil.
Yep.
Right? That's the attacks. Really? You can't do any better than that, right? Let's talk on the policy. On the policy. Help us. We're trying to save this country.
They don't want to help. They're on your commission. And they're there to beat us like a giant anvil on all of your effective work. And now here's Marjorie Taylor Greene's closing statements.
In 2023 alone, those are trillions of dollars that honest Americans have paid in taxes at gunpoint over the years. As we approach April 15th, Americans are once again preparing to do their taxes and fork over their unfair share of money it takes to run this country. And I have to tell you, the American people have not been getting their money's worth for a long time. Most improper payments in recent years were issued through 5 programs: Medicare, Medicaid, the Earned Income Tax Credit, Pandemic Unemployment Insurance, and the Paycheck Protection Program. But a total of 16 federal programs had improper payment rates of 10% or more in 2023. That's
a 10%, just right off the top. You can cut 10% of the budget just by removing that waste. They found waste and fraud averaging about 10% across all of these places. By the way, when they say they had to go in and look at Medicaid and Medicare, because there's a bunch of fraud in there. So they're going, why are you going into Medicaid and Medicare, Elon Musk, and stealing? They're not stealing the money. They're going in and looking at the fraud within that system to pay less. They'll remove that 10% fraud. And that'll mean the rest of the Medicare, it'll go either farther to pay those people, or you won't be paying as much in taxes for fake Medicare payments.
Includes SNAP, the federal food stamp program, which paid out 10 billion taxpayer dollars improperly. To get their arms around this problem, Elon Musk and the DOGE team went straight to the source. They went to the Treasury Department's fiscal service, which makes about 90% of the trillions in federal payments issued annually. The audit of these payment systems was long overdue. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent gave DOGE employees working for the government read-only access to these systems so they could conduct that initial audit.
By the way, that's the same read-only stuff that Amazon has of all of your material, credit card companies have of all your material, Google right now has as it looks at you on your computer. It has read-only access. It can look at all of your data. It knows your Social Security. It knows, they're talking to other programs. The programs are talking to other programs.
That audit is already paying dividends. Musk learned that the databases federal agencies are supposed to check to prevent payments to fraudsters, crime rings, and dead people are not being kept up to date. Going forward, we are going to get more mileage out of these do not pay databases.
So one example, guys, just to give you a real clear one, there are millions of dollars right now being paid out in Social Security to people who are 150 years old or older. Think about that. Are they still alive? The money's still going out to people 150 years old or older. That means it's been paid out for 50 years to people that are almost certainly dead. That's what the Democrats are trying to scare you with and protect.
That means fewer improper payments and less fraud and waste of taxpayer dollars. Despite this fraud that's already been revealed, a federal judge in New York issued a ruling last Friday that ran totally contrary to the will of the people. The judge blocked not only DOGE, but the Treasury Secretary himself from accessing his own agency's payment systems. That's absurd. Only career Treasury Department unelected bureaucrats can access the system, the judge ruled. This turns the Constitution on its head. We will hold this judge and others who try to stop the will of the people and their elected leaders accountable.
And this is when the Democrats yesterday said there was a constitutional crisis, because we had the president say no to this judge. You cannot stop Scott Bessent, my appointment to the Treasury, from accessing the Treasury.
As is written in the Federalist Papers, the judiciary has no influence over either the sword or the purse, no direction either of the strength or the wealth of the society. It may truly be said to have neither force nor will, but merely judgment, and must ultimately depend upon the aid of the executive arm for the efficacy of its judgments. But the whole DC swamp is freaking out that the unelected officials from DOGE were allowed access to these systems. That makes no sense. Federal judges were not elected. The Treasury bureaucrats were not elected, and they have failed to fix the problem that is enabling American taxpayers to be robbed. So why not bring in skilled outside experts like private companies and private citizens who are successful in the real world to do everyday work that we need to get done here, like audits? Of course, federal payment systems are only one link in the improper payment chain. We need to look at other links in the chain. We need better front-end identify verification to screen out fraudsters, and we need to close eligibility loopholes. That means not letting applicants self-attest to their own eligibility. And it means ending categorical eligibility, which lets someone who fraudulently qualifies for one federal benefit automatically get other federal benefits. Finally, we need to better coordinate fraud prevention efforts between federal governments and the states. These are all issues that we will be taking a hard look at in this committee and coming up with solutions to, including legislation and referrals to committees of jurisdiction that will deliver for the American people.
And that's what all of the Democrats are fighting against. It's simply an audit, and they're against it because that's where all their money train funds, their entire shenanigans are all hidden inside of all of these government enterprises that have been manipulated by Democrats, some Republicans, but mostly by Democrats. I'm Doug in exile. Go Margie Taylor Greene.